Okay, I'm going to read you a success report. I was on rheumatoid 2. First one is on rheumatoid joint and back pain. It is from Claudia, 35 years of age in Bolivia. So in June of 2008, through my job, I developed back pain for the first time, but continued working since this income was vital for providing for my family. My work consisted of cleaning an apartment building. This included moving furniture and heavy objects to the upper part of the house, mopping the floor, and ironing clothes. By July 2008, the back pain had intensified to such an extent that I had to consult a doctor because I could no longer continue working with these complaints. Even the slightest movements, such as walking, bending over to get up, were hardly possible without pain. The doctor said my ailment was the result of too much physical work and prescribed diclofenac injections. Later, I had to take it in tablet form. He also prescribed a different painkiller, the name of which I can no longer remember. I could continue this treatment for only 1.5 months because I lacked the financial means to purchase the drugs. In spite of taking the tablets, there was no improvement. Since September 2008, the pain increased. In the following months, it expanded to both knees, which also became swollen. At the end of 2008, the pain and inflammation had already reached the ankle, and I could no longer cope with cleaning. Moving furniture was no longer possible. I stopped going to the doctor, and so I had to give up my job in December 2008 in order to prevent the condition from getting worse because of the physical labor. In this type of employment, there is no health insurance. I was working for a housewife and had only an oral agreement and no fixed working hours. I got into a very difficult situation, being without steady income. I did not have enough money to support my 4 children. Therefore, both of my sons had to accept part-time work in 2009, and until 2010, I was out of work. The only financial aid consisted of was what my 2 sons earned after school. I could not sleep at night and tried to help myself during this time with some tea and liniments of natural oils that brought me relief and relaxed me, but only for a short while. So in April 2010, she attended an information lecture at the Red Cross in Santa Cruz de la Sierra, and she was introduced to the teaching of Bruno Gröning. The healing. Since that day, I did Einstellen, which is tuning in at home for the Hallstrom, which is healing streams, early every morning as well as after lunch, twice a day. I prayed to God and Bruno Gröning to help me get rid of this ailment and be able to work again. Already 1 month after the introduction, I noticed the illness slowly receding, which strengthened my faith and made me pray even more fervently. Exactly when the healing occurred, I cannot say. But in August 2011, I realized that I was free from pain and that there was no inflammation anymore. I had regained my mobility. I can work again without limitations or special precautionary measures, and my movements are as normal as before. I get up and walk without pain, clean, and do all my daily chores. I noticed that Einstellen for the Hallstrom has healed me through my many ailments, and this was all the work of God. When I felt able to work again, I returned to my old job, where I still am today. I thank Bruno Gröning from the bottom of my heart that I found the circle of friends and could thus get into direct contact with our Lord God again. I can now support my children and my household. The physician says, the burden has been so-called a rheumatic disorder. The joints and periarticular structures were probably inflamed and painful. These so-called rheumatic disorders are a relatively diffuse group of ailments, the progression of which is difficult to predict. The rapid and significant improvement as described here to the point of freedom from symptoms is quite unusual and clearly related into the daily taking of the Hallstrom. Really, it's that kind of simple. Is anything can be healed, not necessarily every person, everybody has a timing, but it's that space and that direction. If you want a healing, you're focused on the healing and you're letting go of the ailments. Key part of the teaching, let it go. Okay, so I'm also just going to read you Mark from Belgium, Bolivia and Belgium, and he has polyarthrosis, and his burden, which is chronic pain due to the wear and tear in several joints. Obviously, somebody needs to hear this about joints. So burden, in 1976, I started a construction company. I was always fit as a fiddle and seldom went to the doctor. In October 1999, so that's what, almost 15 years later, 20 years later, 24 years, well, I'm really bad at math today, 23, I started to have pain in all my joints. So 23 years later, after he's been working, fit as a fiddle, he started to have pain in all his joints, especially in his right hip. As I was only 50 years old and still relatively young for hip operation, I took painkillers, Ziox, Z-I-O-X, for a year. In the year 2000, I had to give up my independence on account of my poor health. In the same year, I then had an operation on my right hip, which was successful. In 2001, the same pain started in the left hip. In 2002, I likewise had a successful operation on that hip. In spite of these interventions, I always had pain in other joints, in my knees, my shoulders, my neck, my lumbar vertebrae. The diagnosis by a specialist was arthrosis in both shoulders, in the neck and lumbar vertebrae, and spinal stenosis. I continued to take Cyoxin and Brufen, 400 milligrams, 3 to 4 times daily. Altogether, I had 3 epidural injections in my shoulders. I was deemed to have disability status of 66%. On the basis of this, I got a disability pension. As a result of taking a wide variety of medication, in 2007, I got poisoning of the liver and the pancreas. I was taken off medication I had been taking up until then, and instead, every 3 days, I put on a patch which secreted a substance similar to morphine. As a result, I became very listless and slept a lot also during the day. How did he come to the teaching? At the beginning of June 2011, a friend from Bashat, who belongs to the Circle of Friends, told me about Bruno Gröning and his teaching. She gave me the introductory booklet and some schooling letters to take home. I read these very tentatively and took everything in. Then I began to do Einstellen for the Hallstrom several times a day. At the beginning, I felt nothing, but I continued nevertheless. On August 6, 2011, I was introduced to the teaching. I know that feeling of doing it and not really feeling anything. And then, poof, things start to shift. Healing. After I'd been taking the Divine Power, the Hallstrom, the recharging. You put your phone and you put your laptop in. You charge yourself into the healing streams. The reconnection. Every day for 2 weeks. On June 15, 2011, I got severe pain. I recognize this as Regalugen. Regalugen is the healing pain, the detoxing. And it's something inwardly you just know in that sense is that's what it is. You're having a healing crisis. The later it got, the worse the pain got. But I continued to believe that everything would get better. That night in bed, I asked Bruno Gröning to help me. Not only was my left leg paining me, but also my hips and my foot all the way into my toes. At midnight, it hit a crisis point and it became unbearable. I've had that experience too. Then suddenly the pain began to lessen. Then all the parts which had been painful felt warm. I was able to fall asleep after all. When I woke up in the morning, all of the arthrosis pain had vanished. Poof! On June 12th, I put on my last morphine patch as I no longer had any pain. I also wanted to stop taking the medication. So after that, I didn't use any more patches. My doctor warned me. He said I should come off the medication gradually. In the following days, however, I had no withdrawal symptoms. In his opinion, that is normally not possible. But here again, I see the hand of Bruno Gröning. My GP found it all extraordinary. All of the arthrosis pains are gone since June 16th, and I'm very grateful to God. Our Father. The medical commentary, Mr. Vermeulen's healing in and of itself, and how it happened lead me to conclusion that something has taken place that is unknown to conventional medicine, and which I can only ascribe to the applying of the teaching of Bruno Gröning. It is also most unusual that he had no withdrawal symptoms from stopping the morphine patch and no longer needs any medication. This is one of the reasons for me, it was 30 years ago where I said there must be more to life than me being dependent on one-a-day meds every day. There must be something else. Life is designed to be healthy. And my journey finally led me to the Simple Little Teachings in 2009. And the Simple Little Teachings are essentially give your things away and recharge and take in the Hallstrom, tuning in. We've passed this down sort of thing and to help reset, I say it, it's resetting your heart and overriding your mind so it becomes natural. There's a flow of energy that occurs. It's a new current. It's like you're on the latest 5D wave, okay? Because now you are completely masterful over matter. So that's the journey that I help to take people on day by day by day. You can watch the lovely documentary film. It's on YouTube to see how many people were healed with that presence, and the healings continue to go on. Bruno's life totally mirrors everything that's going on in the world now. Most medical doctors wanted to stop him. The politicians wanted to stop him because he never asked for money. The judicial system wanted to stop him. Everybody wanted him stopped, because it was a new norm. If everybody knew that they could be healthy, and it was something you knew intuitively, which is what he said before he went home, as he said that there'll come a time where every single person will have the ability to help and heal themselves. And that's what I believe this time is about. It's learning to realize, where do you put your faith? Do you put your faith in this beautiful body that you have, the $1 trillion computer, the immune system, connecting with those that support it and have it flourish? Or do you believe that something else is going to help you? Whatever it is you believe and you follow that guidance, that's all right, because everybody has a place in this beautiful masterpiece of global transformation, healing from the inside out. Mwah. Lots of love. Reach out if you want to know more in any specifics, or just jump onto the YouTube, as I said, and Google Bruno Gruening documentary film and enjoy the journey. Bye-bye.